Okay, today I'm going to be giving a rundown of my RWBY Qrow scythe that I built over this past summer. I'm going to be explaining it in full detail of how I built it, how all the parts work, while I unfold it for you. So to start off, I basically started with a Nerf long shot, I believe. Yeah, the sniper rifle version of it. And I made a whole bunch of different modifications to it. For starters, I took off the back stock completely. And then for the front half, which I'll show a little bit later, I actually made a modification to it as well. Other than that, it's still just a standard long shot. The bolt slide and everything still works for it, and you can even take Nerf darts and still fire it, no matter what form the scythe is actually in. So we'll get started over here. On the bottom here, I have just a standard locking device. I'm not really sure what the technical term is for it, but it basically clips onto one of the bolts here, and that keeps the whole thing from sliding off or anything when I'm carrying it. The top half up there actually just sits on top, so whenever I do flip it, like so, it just stays up there. But if I were to rotate it completely upside down, it will swing free, and it does weigh quite a bit. So I try to avoid doing that. But we'll flip it back down here. We'll get this latch pin off. It is a bugger. Which makes it really hard to transform when I'm holding it, but there we go. And since I've done that, this whole main housing can now swing open. Now how it locks into place is right here with these little pinholes. I gotta line them up this way, and there we go. And on the other side, once again, not really sure what the technical term is for it, but it's basically screws, the little nubs there, so I can grab onto them and just screw them into place. This is what holds the entire main housing together. Might be just slightly off on the bottom there. Sometimes I like to come all the way up through, and other times I just do it halfway. I'll go full way just to show you that it does go all the way through there. And that gives it a nice firm grip on things, so that way the whole housing doesn't go sliding down and chop my own leg off. Alright, bottom one's in place. There we go. For the next section, they just fold out. They fold in, fold out. They actually sit into little nooks, and every piece on this is its own layer. So as you see, you got 1 layer, 2 layers, 3, then 4, then 5. So that's how everything's able to articulate out and not run into each other. This one actually does have a lock on it. I can't push it any further than this. This one can swing freely though, so I just try to match it up as best as I can. I mean, it can go all the way over that way, but symmetry is the key. Same thing with the top here. These just pull out. Now these can go way out, but once again, just line it up. Make it look aesthetically pleasing. The design on the main housing actually is Qrow's symbol. I looked it up, made a stencil for it, and then just traced it out basically. For the next part, it swings open. Once again, we got 1 pinhole. There was a second one on the other side, but I found trying to weasel my fingers in there to get both of them connected wasn't working out so well. So I only have it on one side now, and it still does the job. Because the main housing is what weighs the most, and the secondary part doesn't weigh quite as much. So we'll just give that a few turns, and now she's locked into place. For the end down here, my custom little double-edged crow beak look. They just pull out. I mean, other than this part here and maybe a little bit on the back, It's very reminiscent of RWBY Scythe, because I really didn't have much to go off of. But with before Season 3 launched, nobody really knew what his weapon looked like, so I just decided to give my best guess and make a modification so it kind of looks like a crow's beak. Because he's crow. Duh. Alright, onto the back side here. Very simple. I got a door latch that's usually designed to have a lock go through it, so if you can lock up a shed. But repurposed it, as I do with most things. So that way it locks on there and it holds that whole thing up. And then the back side's pretty simple too. It's just simple turn, 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 and turn. Like I said, I made everything in layers so that way everything spins freely. All these bolts, do have one nut on them, but I actually put either super glue. No, I put epoxy. I put epoxy in all of them, so that way they never come loose and the whole thing can swing freely. They're actually locked on there, and the way that it rotates is it actually, like this piece would actually grind on the screw itself, but since it ain't going nowhere, you'll never see the damage underneath. And like I said, for the top piece here, it's just I believe it's 2.5 by 2.5 piece of wood, and I bored all the way through it so that way I could get their Nerf darts still fire out of it. For this part here, for the back, it just slides off. This is actually, give me 1 second. Come on, there we go. This piece here is actually part, I believe, either of this rifle or another rifle, and it was a sight. I had a little flip-up thing like this, and I just hacked it off and repurposed it. Drilled a couple holes so I can get some zip ties through it. This piece here is actually from an old toy lightsaber, back when, I believe it was the Phantom Menace first came out. They had the hard plastic lightsabers still, not the cheap flimsy ones they have now. So, found that, repurposed it, so that way, when you grab it, the whole thing extends. On the back here, for the actual spike part, if you look at it, it actually can break and flip down, and it's got some Velcro underneath that holds it together. That way you can actually collapse the whole thing and put it onto the back part here, and you can make it look like it's a gun. How RWBY's actually does that too. It kind of juts out and it's a stock for a gun. And then you flip it back over. I just have a simple neodymium magnet and a screw, and it just snaps back together. Now the actual stock part of it here was a little bit tricky. I had to use some PVC pipe. Originally I didn't have PVC pipe, I had something else, and it ended up snapping off and failing. And that's why the original video I made, it cuts out so soon, because the moment I picked it up, it just literally tore itself to pieces. So my buddy suggested that I use PVC pipe instead. It's a little bit more rigid. And that's exactly what I did. Picked up a piece that actually wrapped over this, drilled a couple holes through it, epoxied the living daylights out of it, and then PVC cemented this piece on. And on the inside of it was actually part of the old housing that was originally holding it. It snapped. Managed to repurpose it, and actually did come from the lightsaber piece itself, from what it sits in and clicks into the lightsaber. And then drilled a couple runway holes for it, and that way it can sit in there and twist. Now I have to always remind myself that the screw head goes up top and the other part goes down low, so let me just click this in real quick. That's a two-handed job, and it still fights me. There we go. In, twist, locked. So now I can swing this thing around, not super fast, but at least enough that I know the whole thing won't fall apart, and I can stand it upright and everything. And yeah, that's basically it. This little piece does dangle here, but I can latch it back up like that if I don't want it to dangle so much. But yeah, in a bind I can usually transform it in about a minute or two, so it doesn't take that long. And that's it. Thanks for watching.